everything about this game had like a New Orleans voodoo weirdness. And in that way, the Commanders were lucky to come away with the win. But they did win. That win means a lot. The entire playoff picture is totally upended if they lose this football game. Oh, wow. Terry could have broken the team's season touchdown record yesterday. I mean, he's got 3 would-be touchdowns that missed by less than 5 feet combined. First 2, I feel like Jaden didn't have a good ball trajectory on it. He threw them way too flat, which just eliminates all the margin for error. They have to be perfect. Jaden's typically so good at putting air under it, letting the receiver adjust, and for whatever reason, he just didn't. Then on the third one, he put a little bit too much air under it, and Terry, I thought she could have had a PI. If that ball's perfectly thrown, though, he probably scores. Just Terry is a freaking boss. But I think the other part about that performance yesterday is some of the big plays that he did have came on the right side. They came in the slot. Cliff has, I think, learned his lesson that on this team, with this group of receivers, Terry needs to move around. They need to find ways to generate matchups. And I think that's especially true against teams that play man-to-man. I feel like they have a lot of good receivers against zone, guys who just know where to be, will open up at the right time, and fairly reliably catch the ball. But they don't necessarily have guys with quick twitch and juice that can get open outside of Terry. So if you can create better matchups or create confusion amongst the defense by putting Terry in certain spots, it's really good. And like, for instance, they get Terry on Tyrann Mathieu on a bench route, like an 18-yard out in the third quarter because they lined him up in the slot. It's on the left, but it's in the slot. And so it's a cover 2 look, and Terry is unencumbered 15 yards into the secondary. And Matthew's like, well, I got to stay on top of him because he could just keep running and go deep. Terry breaks off the route. Bang, it's a 25-yard gain. So there's stuff like that they're doing more and more often. And just imagine if Terry catches one of those. Nevertheless, 2 or all 3 of those deep shots that they missed. We're talking about 250 yards, 5 touchdowns, and Terry McLaurin sitting on the all-time touchdown record held by Chris Cooley, Jordan Reed, and others at 12. So that is probably going to happen still for Terry this season. He's on an absolute roll right now. He had 2 in the game, but man, the missed opportunities are the ones that kind of hurt you, and they would hurt a lot more had they actually, lost.
Number 5.
Sticking with the receivers, I thought Dyami Brown was really good yesterday. Obviously, has the play wiped out late by the Allegretti hold. But all in all, some of the routes that he runs that are kind of the Noah Brown routes. We told you that, hey, he's going to be the one who primarily runs a lot of the stuff they relied on Noah for. These deep comebacks, things like that. And he did a really good job. And the way that there's one in particular I'm thinking of where he gets into the teeth of the defense, into the zones, is pushing everyone vertical, breaks it down, and just powerfully comes back and attacks the football, catches it, big gain, first down. Awesome job, Dyami Brown. But I also do think you missed Noah Brown yesterday. For instance, that 3rd and 1 play in the red zone, where I thought that Cliff, the run game was awful all day. I get why Cliff doesn't want to run it. I also get that play action boot has been one of their best plays all year, trying to get Jaden on the edge with an option to throw. But it works better with Noah because Noah's a bigger guy who can kind of really actually do some damage on that chip. Luke gives kind of a meh shove, and he's probably not been in that position a ton. And Cam Jordan's been in that position dozens of times, and if not 100 times in his career. He understands what's happening. He understands what's coming. He's prepared, and he blows up the play. Jaden doesn't have a shot. Luke never even gets out into the route. And so it winds up looking like a very stupid play call. I don't think it's a stupid play call. I do think it's not an ideal play call considering the guy that you most likely want executing an extraordinarily key part of that is not available to you in Noah Brown. And I will say, KJ Osborne, who did not play in this game, probably does a better job there. And so that is something to kind of keep in mind when they use tight splits for receivers and they need a guy to block. KJ Osborne's good at that. So that part of the game hopefully will be helpful again next week. But Dyami overall, really, really good replacing Noah. Excellent job.
Number 6.
The injuries did show up in general, though. The offense falls off after Zach Ertz goes out. I mean, he catches that remarkable one-handed catch And not only is he out the rest of the game, but they lose their ability to go to the 3 tight end sets. So that part of their playbook is gone. And I also do wonder if maybe even that 3rd and 1 call we just talked about is something that they would typically run out of one of those sets. And instead they run it with Luke McCaffrey on the edge, and it doesn't work. And actually, I think that was even 13 personnel, but they're having to use Trent Scott, and maybe that has a different effect, having the jumbo package versus your traditional 3 tight end set. Or could you have even run 3 tight ends plus Trent Scott? That is something that I wonder about. Biotish, we already talked about. Noah Brown, we just talked about. Jeremy Chin. Like, Derek Forrest gives up some stuff on that last drive. If that's Jeremy Chin, is it different? So the injuries did play a huge role yesterday, and it's something to watch in a big, big way moving forward. Speaking of injury replacements.
Number 7.
Ben Sinnott. I know everybody wants more Ben Sinnott. I want more Ben Sinnott, but Ben Sinnott's got to be better if we're going to get more Ben Sinnott. He's not ready yet. He's just not. And I really hope that he will eventually get ready. But I'm a little scared that he is going to be at best a number 2 tight end and a guy who is much more John Bates than he is Kyle Juszczyk or Greg Kittle or George Kittle, because he just does not have the short area quickness that the elite tight ends have. And so unless he learns how to old man Zach Ertz it, where Ertz used to have that, but doesn't really have the shake anymore, but understands how to bend routes and use stems and all that kind of stuff, versus like Jordan Reed or Travis Kelce or George Kittle or these guys that just understand how to separate in a space. Like, Sinnott doesn't do that stuff. And they use him in a very limited package that makes me wonder how much trust they have in him. He's just not a nuanced route runner. And I think in general, this game for everybody, the details were not on par. But Sinnott is not detail-oriented enough to play major minutes yet. And so if Ertz is out, I wonder what they do. Cole Turner's still on the practice squad. That doesn't exactly inspire confidence. But they are all of a sudden really thin at reliable pass catchers if Zach Ertz does miss the Philadelphia Eagles game with this concussion.
Number 8.
Defensively, I haven't watched the film yet, so I have less on the defense today. We'll continue to talk about it more, obviously, as the week goes. But I think the defensive film is going to be pretty good. And I think it would be exceptional if somebody not named Mike Sainer still could catch the bleeping football. I know Joe Witt is about to lose his ever-loving mind. How many balls are going to hit guys in the hands? Frankie Louvu got hit, I can't remember if it was the 4 or the face, but ball just right to him. You have to take advantage of those opportunities. Oh my goodness. And that defense probably plays great if they have 3 more turnovers, which they had the opportunities to get. So they also did get kind of screwed by the refs on a couple of roughing calls. There's a couple other questionable things that happened. But all in all, I think down in, down out, this defense played pretty well. Rattler got away with a couple that should have been picks, but he was, also Jake Haener has a ball get dropped in the first half. So this defense was kind of this defense. They gave up some stuff. You wish it was a little bit better. They mostly did a good job, and second half wasn't as good as the first. They got, again, Joe Witt Jr. talked last week about being more consistent. And if you're talking first half to second half, yeah, they got to be more consistent. But they actually have been game over game very consistent. They need to be better if they want to take a next step.
Number 9.
Kickers, man. Hard to find a good one this year, huh? Whether you're the Commanders or every other team. I mean, some of the best kickers in the league are having bad years, including Tucker up in Baltimore. It's just 45-yarder. Wide. Just kidding. Quarter was over. Okay, that one's good. And we miss another kick here, another kick there. They just... I don't know what you're supposed to do if you're Adam Peters. There's no such thing as a reliable kicker. And if Greg Joseph makes the field goal late, it's a 10-point game, and none of that stuff at the end matters. Which brings us to...
Number 10.
I'm not going to do another officiating rant. But it'd be cool if they got calls right. But all in all, this was a weird football game. The clock stuff at the end of the third quarter, and then, oh my God, the clock stuff at the end of the game where they just stopped the clock for 4 seconds for no reason. The game should have been over, and it should have been over at 20-13. you have the sack kind of conundrum where the O-line actually wasn't at fault for most of them, but they actually also didn't really play that well. There was just weird stuff. I mean, Jaden missing 3 wide open shots to Terry. Everything about this game had like a New Orleans voodoo weirdness, and in that way, the Commanders were lucky to come away with the win. But they did win, and I feel like that needs to actually be underscored based off some of the early online reaction, and we'll see what you guys have to say in Tell the Truth Monday coming up next at 301-230-0980. But when I say they're lucky to win, I don't just mean like, oh my God, based off the performance, they were lucky to win. No, they're lucky to win, and that win means a lot. The entire playoff picture is totally upended if they lose this football game. They didn't. They now probably only have to win 2 of their remaining 3, and they might be able to go 1-2 and split 2-2 down the final 4 and still get in. They are 1 win away from 10 games. They are 2 wins away from their first 11-win season since the early 90s. Win them how you can. And they did. They need to play better if they want to really compete in the playoffs, but they did it. Congratulations. It is a victory Monday. Good job, Commanders. 9 wins. First time since 2015. When we get back here on this Victory Monday, it is also a Tell the Truth Monday. 301-230-0980. Your take on the game next on The Hoffman Show.